What is up? What is up, Lions fans? Welcome to a live, day post game reaction to the Lions divisional playoff game against the Washington Commanders. Pretty somber day. It's kind of how it was in Ford Field last night. But we'll get into all those fun things. Welcome to the show. I'm your host. I'm Glover Quinn. I'm a former Detroit Lions player. Never made it to the divisional round with the Lions. Got put out in the wild card round twice. So I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is when it comes to the Lions. I don't know if it's expectations. I don't know if it's organizational. Although the organization isn't playing. I don't know what it is. But the Lions continue to fall short in the postseason, in the big games that matter. Last night was no different. They lose to a Commanders team who was the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs. They lost, I think it was 45-31, 2-touchdown lead. And, a lot of people are saying this, saying that, saying this, saying that about why they lost, all these different things. And I'm simply going to speak on kind of what I spoke on all year. And I think that's what ended up biting us last night. My first note. I don't even want to put it out there like this, but I'm just going to go with it. Defensively, the injuries. All year we've talked about the injuries that they've had, number of guys that they've had on on injury reserve. But they've played decently well during the regular season, had some decent performances. They've had time to, learn. This is the difference in the regular season and the playoffs. When you get to the playoffs, it's just different. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different intensity. It's a different execution. And last night, defensively, the Lions, all the things that they struggled with due to the injuries, the main guys, it hurt last night. First one, I talked last week on the pod, and I talked about Terrion Arnold being out and how I was afraid for that with the depth of the Lions secondary. And, Terrion Arnold played. But the second or third defensive play of the game, they lose a Mick Robertson. So losing a Mick is almost the same as not having Terrion. So then we had to go into the depth of the Lions secondary. And you say, well, they didn't really. It does play a role. It plays a role because now you got different guys in different positions, and they take Terry McLaurin catches a screen pass and goes 60 plus yards for a touchdown. They ran a screen pass on the play that Mick got hurt on, and it was a short gain. It just had a big impact because he got hurt. So having your guys in that understand how to play in the system, understand everything about the game, it matters. It matters. And so that hurt the Lions last night. When you look at the D-line, I said it on the pod last week. I did with a Washington player, Anthony Armstrong, and he asked me about some guys, and I said, you know what? If the Lions can't stop Brian Robinson, it's going to be a tough day. And I feel like the Lions came in and they were trying to stop Jaden Daniels, but they didn't stop Brian Robinson. When you don't stop the running back, you're never going to stop the quarterback. Every defensive coach says you have to be able to stop the run. And they're talking about the running back, because if you can't stop the running game with the running back, you're never going to stop the quarterback, because the quarterback has three options. He can run it, he can hand it off to the running back, or he can throw it. So then once you start getting gashed up the middle, now you start scrambling. And I was at the game, and I'm watching the game, and I'm going to be honest. Jaden Daniels played at LSU, played at Arizona State. I think his reads in that spread offense, they were flawless last night. Flawless. I mean, he handed the ball off to the running back when he needed to hand it off. He ran with it when he needed to run with it. He threw, like, his reads were flawless. I got to give him that. So that made it tough. That made it very tough, because, like I say, when you can't stop the running back from getting 8, 9, 10 yards up the middle, it's going to be very difficult to stop the quarterback. I mentioned Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz catches a touchdown, catches a few key first downs. Because when you lose a Mick, it just puts a little more stress on the secondary. I looked up last night, and they had a guy in there, number 40. I don't even know what his name is. And it's no disrespect to him, but I don't think he's played in the defense all year. But he was in last night, and I don't know if Affetti got hurt or if they took Affetti out, because I think he was the safety in on the long screen pass to Terry McLaurin. I think he was the safety that was covering Zach Ertz on the touchdown. So I don't know if Affetti wasn't playing well and they decided to take him out and then put somebody else in there, or if he got injured and they took him out. But everything that happened with the defense last night are things that we've seen. Not having Aleem McNeil in the middle, it's harder to stop the good running backs and the good teams that run the ball. It's hard to stop them. Not having Aiden Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport. I mean, we didn't sack Jaden Daniels. We didn't rush Jaden. Like, Jaden Daniels, I mean, he's probably not even sore today. He's probably not even sore. It's probably not even sore. So that was a huge part of the game. Defensively, when you can't stop people, it doesn't matter how good your offense is. You have to be able to stop people. And last night, defensively, they struggled. Jared Goff. You know, I brought up on the pod last week with Stacey Dales, and I said, do you think Jared Goff can lead the Lions to a Super Bowl victory? And she was like, yeah, of course. Maybe he can. And I'm not saying that he can't, but I do know the games this year where Jared Goff has had pressure or has had to do things outside of the system, he struggled. Those are the games that they've lost. He threw the ball 50 plus times against Tampa. They lost. Come in, Buffalo, Josh Allen, he's putting up points. We lose. I mean, they got lucky and was able to beat a undermanned Houston team after Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions. You can't have those type of games against the good teams. The fumble in the red zone, that takes off at least 3 points. I won't say 7. I'll say at least 3. The pick 6, that's 7. So that's 10-point swing. The interception right before the half, I think you're still in field goal range. So you say take off another 3. That's 13 points. That's 13 points. You know, that last interception, I don't even want to put that in the stat sheets because it doesn't matter. They're just throwing the ball. Those 3 right there, the pick 6, the fumble, and the one before the half. Those 3 right there, 13 points. And you lose by 14. But that's a different ball game. You don't throw that last interception if you're down by 1 because you're just running the ball, setting up for a field goal, right? You're not doing some of the things that you had to do in that ball game if it's a close game. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that Jared Goff isn't the guy, but I don't know. It seems to always be the big games when you need him the most, and he just doesn't come up. And when you turn the ball over like that, it's going to be very difficult to win. Live by the sword, you die by the sword. Last year, we were all coming out of this game after the NFC Championship talking about Dan Campbell and the 4th downs. And this year, I think it's the trick plays. You know, I mean, Jameson Williams gets a reverse. And I'm not sure, but I would assume that the coaches are telling Jameson in practice, in the meetings, because I've been in team meetings, not in the offensive meetings, but I've been in team meetings where you go over these trick plays. And the coach is like, if it's not absolutely wide open, don't throw it. Just run it. Just eat it. We live to fight another play. You got Jameson Williams throwing back shoulder fades on the trick play. I mean, you know, you do a lot throughout the season with these trick plays, and they had a nice one to Amon-Ra St. Brown, got some yards. But in the grand scheme of things, I look at those and I'm like, when I want to do a trick play, I need it to be touched because it's so risky. I mean, you got a 17-yard gain from Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's cool, but your offense, you can get 17 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs was getting whatever he wanted to get almost. Do I have to do a double shovel pass and have my running back shoveling it to, like, do I have to do all that to get 17 yards? It's risky. So, but that's how you play. That's how you've played all year. You just called the wrong one and put that play in the hands of Jameson Williams when you probably should have put that play in the hands of Amon-Ra St. Brown and been like, hey, if he's not open, just eat it and we'll live to fight another day. But they didn't. If you look at the coordinators, full week of talk about the coordinators and the job opportunities and all those things. And I've always felt like none of that stuff matters. None of that stuff matters. You make yourself more valuable when you win. from a coach, from a player, doesn't matter. When you win, it makes you more valuable. You go out last night in a divisional round of the playoffs, and as Aaron Glenn, your defense gives up 45 points. How do you go into a job interview this week after you just gave up 45 points? Ben Johnson, you scored 31. You've been scoring 40 all game, all year. Trick plays hurt you. Like, how do you go into these job interviews now saying you're the guy to go and take over their team when this what the whole world witnessed last night? And we know how it is in America. It doesn't take you long to get on everybody's bad list. You can work your whole life trying to get to the good side, and one game like that on national TV and the whole world is like, no, we don't want him. We don't want him. And then they go and get somebody else that did the same thing. They just didn't do it last night. So I don't know. What's going to happen with the coordinators. I don't know if they're going to get jobs, if they're going to stay. But it's a bitter taste. It's a bitter taste. It's a bitter taste, And I was asking some of my buddies last night. Which one would you rather? Would you rather have a 15-2 regular season, breeze through the regular season pretty easily, and then lose the first game in the playoffs? Or would you rather struggle, fight, claw, scratch, 10-7, 11-6, 9-8, but find a way to get in, but you're playing good, you're battle tested, and then you make a playoff run? Which one would you rather? Because in life, when it's easy in the beginning, it typically is harder on the backside. And when it's hard in the beginning, it's typically easier on the backside. So you look at the teams that are playing well in the playoffs right now. The Commanders, they battled all year. They had close wins, Hail Mary, come back on the Eagles. Like, when did the Lions come back on somebody this year? When did they have to come back on somebody to build that character? I mean, they played close games. Don't get me wrong. Some of them were close. But when did they have to come back and really scratch and claw? They kind of breezed through the regular season. They kind of breezed through. So I don't know. I don't know which one. I'm more of a let's battle, let's fight, let's go 10-7, let's go 11-6. I was saying the whole season, it scares me when a team doesn't lose in the regular season, because come playoff time, the closest thing we saw to it was the Patriots. The Patriots went 17-0, and then you lose the Super Bowl. Wow. Right. And so, yeah, man, it was just tough. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, all the teams in the NFC North to win 14 games, and they're all at the house for the big. They're all of them. All of them. So that right there was a tough one last night. That was a tough one. And now I asked my guy last night. I said, so if you're the GM, if you're Brad Holmes, what do you do? Like what do you do this offseason? Who do you draft? What do you try to get? This right here was probably as complete of a team as you've seen. They had quarterback, they got running backs, they got wide receivers, they got tight end, they got O-line, they got D-line, they got linebackers, they got What do you do? Do you trade your first round pick to acquire more picks? I mean, you're gonna have 20 something pick anyway. Do you just try to build depth? Do you go and get a superstar? I don't know. D lineman? You get another D lineman? I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with Marcus Davenport. Like, what do you do if you're the GM? What do you do? Who are you gonna pay? Got to keep some guys. Got to let some guys go. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. But the Lions had an incredible season, although it didn't end in the Super Bowl. It's hard to win 15 games in the NFL. It just is what it is. It's hard. And they done it. They broke some records. And everybody got to continue to do their part to push the door down. A few years ago when I was in Detroit, we kind of got started on that, kind of bringing some respect to the Detroit Lions organization, getting some big time games. And then they took a dip, and Dan Campbell has brought those guys back. And they got to do their part to keep pushing the door, to keep moving the needle until the Lions can finally break through. And I don't know what group is going to be that'll finally break through, but it'll be somebody. It'll be somebody. And we'll all feel like we had a little bit to do with that, although those guys are out there on the field making it happen. So it's going to be tough to watch the games today. Even if you're a football fan, you're just going to have a sour taste in your mouth from last night. Watching the games next week. Continue to bet online, though. Sometimes that makes the game a little more interesting when you got some money on it, when you're betting. I was so looking forward to the Lions versus Stafford to go to the Super Bowl. That would have been an epic game. Epic game. Continue to support Believe in Lions. I'll be on here during the offseason, keeping you updated with a couple things going on in Detroit and the draft and different things. It's tough, man. I was in the building last night. I was at Ford Field last night, and it was excitement early in the game. The fans were excited. The fans were excited. And then the fans started leaving. They started leaving. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. See what happens with Jared Goff. See what happens with, the guys that they decide to keep, the guys they decide to let go. The draft, they can get somebody. Free agency, I know all the free agents probably want to go play in Detroit, but they got to figure out who they need, how much money they got, what they want to spend. I appreciate you guys tuning in to the live reaction show. And those were just some of the things that I thought. Another point that I brought up before I go. Jahmyr Gibbs, incredible talent. Incredible talent. He got whatever he wanted last night. He got whatever he wanted last night. David Montgomery came back. I thought he had some tough runs. But I mentioned that on the pod. I just wonder, with him coming back, you're taking those 5, 6, 7 touches away from Jameer. And that's tough. Does he need a break? Of course. But does he need the ball every play? Of course. He is like that. So shout out to Jameer for an incredible season. Shout out to the Lions for an incredible season. The real one Priders are still going to be there. They've dealt with far worse seasons than this. Far worse seasons than this. Everybody's not going to win the Super Bowl. It's only going to be one team. So y'all did some amazing things this year. Won 15 games. Brought a lot of pride, respect, showcased the city of Detroit, showcased the Lions organization on a national stage. Y'all did that. Y'all should be proud of what y'all did, and we just got to continue to build. The real one Priders will continue to be behind you guys. Enjoy the offseason. Get yourself healthy. Come back stronger, mentally tougher, and do it again. Do it all over again. That's the thing about the NFL. You got to come back. Whether you win, whether you lose, you got to show up every day and do it all over again. All over again. So that's all I have for you guys. Appreciate you guys. Subscribe to the Believe in Lions podcast. We're on YouTube. Anywhere you listen to your podcast, get over to Bet Online, get your bets in. Thank you guys for an incredible season. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening to the gibber and the jabber of what I have to say. Thank you guys for being interested in what I have to say. If you got anything you want to say, hit me on Twitter at Glover Quinn Jr. I'll see some of them and try to respond to some of them. So let's continue to support the NFL and be football fans. Because in order for us to get to where we got to go, we got to learn. We got to learn from a fan, from an organization, and from a team. So let's watch and see who wins it. Study what they do, what they don't do, how they played, and how they were able to get to the top. And until next time, peace.